Still, not sponsored by Duncan. It's the Woodworking Morning Show.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Bing!
Oh, wait, it's not morning. It's evening. It's so
Here.
confusing.
It's evening in Denver.
It's morning somewhere. We're going to have to do different intros. Nicole was just saying we got to go to our voice guy and say, hey, can you make these actually make sense for the time that the show is on now?
Welcome to, we don't know what this is.
It's all in flux. We have no idea what's going on. But hey, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. I'm Marc.
And I'm Nicole.
And this is the show that was the morning show that is now taking place in the evening.
We just call it the WoodWhisperer Live.
TWW Live. Let's go back to that. That was so simple. Our son is asking for more time on his iPad.
Oh my gosh.
Can you handle him?
Yeah, I'll handle it.
My goodness. So I want to thank some people who helped support the show. Scott Morris, Michael Lusk, Don Edelmayer, Mike Smith, and Tim Miley. So there's two ways you can do this if you want to. They're kind of like voluntary subscription. You can go to patreon.com/woodwhisperer. And we've got multiple levels there, or right on YouTube, you can use their little membership feature. It says join, and you can go there, and it's just a few bucks a month.
Get some bonuses.
Yeah,
like
there's
after this show, we do more of this show. It's called the after
we call
show.
it the after show. Yeah, but again, we always say money is not the most important thing here. The most important thing is that you watch. And then maybe after you watch, or while you're watching, you tell a friend about it. That's all we appreciate, or all we want.
Speaking of money, we got some nice super chats.
I'm not saying I don't like money. I mean, if we're getting down to it, money's fine.
Chuck Hart did a nice super chat. And he said,
thank you, Chuck.
Thanks for what you both do for all of us. What do we do?
This. Whatever this is, that's what
We're doing it. We're doing it live.
We're doing it live. So, thanks to everybody who does support us in that way. We appreciate it. And thank you for being here.
Can you believe we've been doing this since 2014?
Far too long. Far too long. I think it's time to retire.
I like you more.
I like you. There's no way I can make a joke and get safely out of it. So I'm just going to answer some questions.
I just like doing the show with you. It's our chance to kind of,
Well, it's funny because it really is most days the only hour we get alone together, just between the kids and bedtimes being all wacky. Yeah, good stuff.
Hey, got another one from Gordon White.
Okay, hard for me to find here.
$10 past education, $4 future education, expectations, $6 entertainment. Thanks for all of it. Aww.
Very nice. Sounds like Willy Wonka, given the formula
of
that drink that he made or something.
Or was it the drink?
I think it was made like a fizzy lifting drink. I don't know. Maybe.
That's true.
Okay, so let's get to our questions. I have questions pre-selected from both YouTube and Patreon for people who are supporting members. But if you're here now, you can ask a question right in the chat room. Nicole pulls those and kind of peppers them in when I give her a second to put one in.
When he takes a breath.
Yeah, I don't take breaths enough. Okay, let's go to Andy. Andy Moran says, the veneering glue up for the back of my bread box project was successful thanks to your info in the guild meeting last week. Thank you. Do you plan to put out a video and plans for the pantry? Well, there's definitely going to be a video. This particular project was one of those that had so many details and things that I kind of had to figure out as I went along. And I did things in a very different sort of experimental way for me. I don't think it's one that anybody else is really going to want to build. It's so specific for what my mom wanted, right? She wants a little veggie and potato and onion thing on the bottom.
Yeah. Is it no longer? It's no longer.
Yes, we did finally agree not to have it tilt out.
Yeah.
2 other drawers, then a big bread box drawer, and then 2 double doors. I mean, the whole thing, it's wacky, right? But it's perfect for my mom. So I don't think there's going to be plans, but there will be a video for sure.
Is there a video for that?
There will be a video for that.
Oh, fun.
Patrick says, is Baltic birch plywood good for a painted project, or could you recommend a different plywood? I think for painted stuff, whatever. If it's a good, flat, inexpensive plywood, you don't have to pay too much for it, but it stays nice and flat. Paint it, sand it, paint it. It'll be fine. I don't think you need to necessarily go to Baltic birch. Baltic birch is a great plywood. I use it all the time, but I don't think that you necessarily need to go to that level unless you really want the sort of structural properties of Baltic birch, in which case then go for it. But honestly, man, any plywood for paint is going to be fine. Kurt Allen says, I have a large solid wood panel, 25 by 48, for a writing desktop that will need to be ripped to a final width after glue up. It seems my panel would be unwieldy on the jointer due to its size. I was wondering if after you glue up a large solid wood panel like this and then cut it to its final width, do you then typically joint the saw cut edge to remove any blade marks, or do you use a hand plane or sanding block? If it's a hand plane, would you opt for low angle jack or a block plane? Okay, let's see if I can get to all those. So I do not generally on big panels hit the jointer after it's hit with the table saw. A good quality table saw blade might leave a little bit of a rough cut, but it's not that bad. Typically, a good sanding is all it really needs. But if it's if it's something where the grain is cooperating with you and you want to use a hand plane, a couple passes of a smoother is fine. If all you have is a block plane, that's fine. Most of my I have a couple different block planes. They're all low angle. I just kind of prefer those for the most part. If you go to a jack plane, love the low angle jack. It's one of my favorite planes. That will work too. When you're talking about an edge that was freshly cut at the table saw or jointed, it's pretty straight. So even if you have a longer plane, you should have no problem cleaning up that edge with that plane. You certainly don't need to go to something as small as a block plane. And a low angle jack will be perfectly fine for that.
So funny. There's someone in the chat, Donald Sarvis. He is from Springfield, Missouri.
Okay.
I've been to Springfield, Missouri. My grandfather lived in Hunter, Missouri, and I had in my head they were close.
Yeah.
So I Googled it, and it's like 2 hours away.
Oh, no kidding.
So my child mind put them a little bit closer.
Yeah, they were closer than 2 hours.
So,
yeah, I get
hello,
that.
Donald.
When I was a kid, everything seemed further away.
Yeah.
Like stuff that was only 15 minutes to me felt like it was an hour away.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe that's the way my mom made me feel. Because anything that was more than 10 minutes away was like it had to be a special occasion to go do that thing.
Novocaine009 is in the chat, and he says, how do you get to the after show? So if you're on Patreon, there's a post that I put up. If you are a YouTube member, it's under the community tab. So if you go to the WoodWhisperer homepage on YouTube, there's a bunch of tabs, and it says community, and it's a post there.
Yep.
So that's how you get that.
Okay, Fred wrote in. He says, I am in the market for a new 8-inch jointer. I know about straight knives and helical cutter heads, but I came across a spiral cutter head. What do you know about spiral? Do they have these in planers too? Well, spiral is kind of like that third option. I don't know what came first, whether helical heads came first, like the Shelix style heads or the spirals. But I remember when the first time I saw a spiral cutter head, I'm like, ooh, what is that? But the shear angle on it is what gives you a nice clean cut. Spiral is fine. But I think if I had to choose, and I think, the different technologies that they use for these cutter heads, there might be something I'm not that aware of. But I feel like a helical head is going to be my favorite in that sense because I could very easily change those little carbide cutters on there or rotate them. A spiral head, and again, I think it depends on which brand we're talking about, how it's actually implemented, how the blades are seated in there. Can the blades be sharpened, or are they just simply indexed and you just replace them? But look into it. But I think if you have a choice, I'm probably going to, I would recommend going with the helical.
Brian Sedan, I can't pronounce it.
Sure.
Brian, he said, you influential SOB. I just ordered the Recteq at Meat Church. I hope you're happy. Have a great weekend.
I'm happy for your taste buds, my friend. Recteq and Meat Church is a killer combo.
I really do like Meat Church.
I like meat. Yeah, I wish there were like affiliate codes.
I know, right? No, we get nothing.
Maybe like some kind of program where I get free pellets or something. I've convinced so many people to buy Recteq. There's actually a thread in the Recteq Facebook group right now where someone's like, I have convinced at least 4 family members to buy Recteq. Like, I want a kickback program.
Yeah, right?
So I'm not the only one.
Barrio Woodwork says, Marc, what would you recommend for drilling my own MFT style 20 millimeter holes on a would you recommend for drilling?
Well, you could be very careful with your layout and just drill. There's a device called the PARF. Is it the PARF? Something PARF. Am I making that up? No, I'm not.
PARF.
It's like a jig. Parf guide system.
Yeah, you're right.
I think a lot of people use that to create the whole pattern. It's kind of, I don't know, is it a one-trick pony? Are there other things you can do with it?
$234.
Yeah, you better really like making holes, if that's the case.
Making holes.
It's last week, just making holes. Have it. Of course, if you have a friend with a CNC, that'd be really nice. Nice way to go. But look at the Parf guide system. Perf. You're making fun of someone's name, I'm sure.
Oh, sorry.
That's so rude of you. That's usually my job.
My bad.
Okay, Aaron Pena. He says, watching the executive desk project recently, and I was interested in the wood bleaching that you did. How is that holding up? Can you still see the difference in the cherry that was bleached and not bleached? Did the bleached cherry darken? Well, Aaron, good news. The best way to answer this question is with a picture. Let's do that. So there's a picture of my desk as it looks today. That was taken this afternoon.
It's beautiful.
Here's the thing. The panels did stay a little bit lighter. The rest of the cherry did darken as anticipated. The contrast, I got to tell you, the contrast between the panels, which had the bleach treatment, and the rest of the desk is not as substantial as it looks in this picture, right? Like, doesn't this look a little bit more pronounced?
It does.
The way the light is hitting it?
Yeah.
So in person, I could tell you that the difference is almost not even detectable. Not saying that I wasted my time doing it, but anyone who saw that series, you might have seen the process I went through. I was cautious because I didn't want to bleach the crap out of it. I just wanted to lighten them a little bit so there'd be some contrast there. So it was an experiment. I think if I had lightened it a little bit more, maybe a longer bleach exposure, I would have gotten a little bit more contrast there, but it was the first time I tried it, so I was just giving it a shot. So that's what it looks like today.
I have a question from Olive Press. Can Rubio be used for cutting boards?
Yes.
Yes.
Rubio can, if you're trusting, here's the thing. A lot of times with these companies, you have to put some trust in them. When they say something is food safe, you just go, okay, I hope you're right, and you start using it. You can use it on food contact surfaces, but what they will tell you is that they don't recommend it on cutting boards because as soon as you make that first deep cut, you are now exposing raw wood, and the finish, Rubio, is only binding to that very, very top surface. So if you look at their website, I think it's in their FAQ, they will say, yes, you can use it on food contact items, but they do not recommend it on cutting boards for that reason. That said, if you want to use it on a cutting board, I guess it's okay. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Here's the thing. Rubio is one of those companies with proprietary stuff going on, and if I don't know exactly what's in the can, I tend to not want to put it anywhere near my food. This is something that I've actually changed my position on over the years. I was a little bit more adventurous in the past and would use varnish and things like that. I still stand behind what I said back then, but my personal preferences have changed, and I like to go with things that are a little bit more natural. So I would use Rubio on a countertop. Don't think I would use it on a cutting board.
Michael said Woodpeckers also makes one, like guide system.
Oh, really?
He says it's expensive.
What isn't at Woodpeckers?
An MFT making jig.
I like what Joel says here. WoodWhisperer for president. Could you imagine?
No.
You guys, look, generally speaking, if you just take the temperature of everybody thinks the world is going to hell in a handbasket right now, right?
Not everybody.
Do you know how bad it would be?
Not everybody.
A lot of people. Do you know how bad it would be if I was at the helm? It would be so much worse. Much worse, you guys.
Just let them teach you woodworking.
Let me be a woodworker. You don't want me as a politician. I'd be so awful.
Oh my God.
Okie dokie. Wait, I got one more.
I have one from Karen too. It was a late submission.
Okay, and then I'm done for here, so
okay.
that's all you. Ben's Woodcrafts says, I'm planning on making a cabinet with a curved front and a matching curved drawer. I'm normally a pretty square furniture guy without much experience with making curved pieces. What's the best technique without a huge learning curve? Well, I got to tell you, man, you picked something that's going to have a learning curve. Like, no matter what you do, getting curved elements to sit properly in a case, like a drawer front, and for everything to kind of look right when it's all said and done, it's a process. Making bent pieces, I guess if I could break it down to 3 things, and I might be missing something, 3 techniques I can think of. Bent lamination, that's where we cut, let's say just talk about the drawer front. You would cut a bunch of thin pieces, you'd have a bending form, you'd put glue between those thin pieces because they're now pliable, and you would either use clamps or a vacuum press and press it down to that form, and boom, you got your curve. The second way to do it would be kerfing. You could take a piece of plywood, sometimes with solid wood, and cut a whole bunch of kerfs in the side that you're not going to see. All those little slices kind of turn it into something of an accordion, and you weaken the structure so much that you can get the bend that you need. And then there's coopering. So coopering goes back to barrels, like barrel staves. If you think about how that's done, you're basically cutting each piece with a slight angle so that as the pieces come together, they come together in the shape of a curve. The trick with coopering is then you usually have flat. It's a series of flats, and you have to round all those facets so that it becomes a nice smooth curve. So I think there's a little bit more labor in a coopering process. But there might be more ways to do it, but all three of those represent trial and error and something you would want to get some practice with, and some will probably require specialized tooling. You do a bent lamination, you're going to probably want a bandsaw, certainly a planer, maybe a drum sander, depending on how much you get into the stuff. So I don't have a definitive answer for you, but those are three things to look into.
So Country Boy 007, who are you talking to? Who's Mike? Mike.
Where?
Mike. And I thought maybe Mike Farrington was in the chat room for a minute.
You know what? I actually used to get called Mike.
Did you?
Quite a bit. Well, I mean, it's pretty darn close to Marc.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay, so what?
He just wants to know what I'm assuming he's asking you on what the next build will be.
I don't know.
On the main YouTube channel, the next video to come out will be.
Gotta look at the schedule. Oh, tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, I have my mom's dining table video coming out, and here's the cool thing. I may have mentioned this the last couple of weeks. This is a video that a series, I should say, that I wasn't sure exactly what to do with it. Too much info for me to just kind of make a multi-parter.
It would have been a 6-part, potentially more.
It would have been tricky to release on the main site.
Yeah, I mean, we did 12 parts back in the day, but that was before anybody was on YouTube.
No, we still do. I mean, not on YouTube.
Not on YouTube.
Okay.
Not on YouTube.
Do it in the guild.
Do it in the guild.
So here's the thing. This project, 6 parts, I was like, you know what? I'm going to put this in the guild, but I'm going to make it free. So tomorrow, a video will come out on the main site that's about, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Quick narrated version. You can see what the project's all about. But then if you want, you could head over to the guild. No credit card required. You can sign up for that project and actually see what the guild looks like from the inside. It's very hairy. It smells like Cheetos.
For a long time, people had been asking us for a free trial, and this was the best way we knew how to let people in to see kind of the experience that you get with the guild. And if you're brand new to us and you're like, what is this guild? It is our paid portion of our website that is online woodworking, like an online woodworking school. And we've been doing that since 2009.
Yeah, it's thewoodswhispererguild.com or just woodwhispererguild.com. I think that project is there.
Yeah.
I believe I published it. None of the lessons are ready for viewing. That's tomorrow. But if you want to go there now, you could probably hook yourself up with that project.
Is it in the store?
I think it is.
Let me go look.
If you go to someone let us know live on the show. Let's do it.
I'll go take a look.
I'm pretty sure it's there.
Let's see.
You could also.
There are actually 3 projects now that are free, no credit card required. It's the
Boom Shakalaka.
Okay, so the dining table with the breadboard ends.
Yep.
The dovetail step stool and the picture frames. So.
Yep.
Now it doesn't make you a full member. It gives you a taste of what that community is about and
how the site works.
How the site works, and it's definitely structured with more education in mind. So.
Oh, you guys want to see something cool?
You're talking about your blatchies?
My piece of wood. So I've got a front door that I'm refinishing. It's alder. And like all the alder in our house, it has been stained without regard to the blotching that can happen with stain.
They did not have any F's to give.
No. I mean, I guess when everything is done like that,
Yeah.
it gives it a little bit more of a rustic appearance. It doesn't look terrible. I mean, we live with it. It looks fine. But when I have a chance to redo something and something needs to be fixed, I'm starting to think, well, especially after you refinish something, you pull that finish off, you get a stain off of there. Unless you're running this through a planer or a wide belt sander, you're probably not going to get deep enough to get that deep stain out of the deepest grain. So when you go to refinish it and you apply another coat of stain on there, it kind of is exacerbated by what is left in the wood, so that the finished result in some cases looks amazing. Like I did that, remember our old Western Red Cedar table? When I did the epoxy treatment, refinished it, it looked amazing because it had some of the scars from its previous life, if you will.
Awesome.
So I didn't want our front door to get even more rustic looking, and that's what would happen if I used a stain on there and got all that blotch. So I started looking into doing a little bit of, blotch prevention, blotch control. And I played with the formula. It's something I've been wanting to try for a little bit. I will probably do a video on this to show it to you. I want to experiment with it a little bit more, using stuff you probably have sitting around the shop, and got these results. One of the real tricks with, let me show you what
It stinks.
That's actually my breath. It smells like volatile organic compounds. Down here is an area that was just sanded and then treated. What I've got here is actually dark walnut Danish oil, Watco brand. So you guys see all that? All this bidness over here. Now look, you might like it. A lot of people do. It's okay. In this case, I didn't want it.
It's called having different tastes.
Different tastes, baby. So you see the dark spots, the light streaks, all this stuff. A lot of people think it's personality, but depending on your goals, you may or may not want that. Up here is something that was treated with a blotch preventative. And then I stained on top of that. You could see it's so much more even and consistent looking. So the thing is, a lot of blotch control, traditional blotch control methods will seal the wood. So let's say you're using shellac. That's de-wax shellac is a real common traditional way to do it. You have to be real careful with your shellac dilution, because it goes from not being completely ineffective to blocking so much of the stain that you change the color, and you don't fundamentally get the same color. What you laughing at?
Country Boy said that Mike was my name.
Oh, nice. Country Boy Mike. He wasn't even talking to me. So you have to be careful. Once you put that on the surface, you're effectively sealing it, and now the stain doesn't absorb. So the color you thought you were going to get, you don't get that color. So what do you notice about this? The colors are pretty much dead on. I mean, maybe a little bit lighter here, but I'm happy with this result. So I'm going to probably make a video about this. It's a water-based formula that does this, and it worked really, really well. I just got to play with the formula. I got, try a few more tests out, but thought you might be interested in that.
Got a super chat right there.
A super duper chat.
From Beagle.
What's the best way to avoid burn marks on wood when using the table saw? A sharp blade, first of all. If you have a good sharp blade and also the right tooth count, that could be very helpful. If you were doing a long rip and you got yourself like a crosscut blade, or worse yet, like an 80 tooth plywood blade, that's just too much friction, too much work for those teeth to go through. The heat builds up, you get burning. If you're doing a long rip, you want like a 30 tooth ripping blade in there. So the right blade that's nice and sharp is a good start. Calibration is also an issue. You get a lot of excessive burning if your fence is kind of towed into the blade a little bit, and it doesn't take much, a couple thousandths. So as you're pushing, you're going through the cut, your fence is actually causing the work to kind of skew and push left a little bit. So by the time you get to the back of the blade, you're rubbing pretty good on there. So a lot of times people will do this, and you got to be careful with this. If you can accurately calibrate your table saw fence so that it actually kicks out maybe 1 degree away from the blade, that's a way to get a little bit of a cleaner cut at the table saw. But you got to be careful. You certainly don't want to do it too much. And I'm serious about like a degree or 2 at the most.
Luther Woodworks. I would have gotten your question, Luther. It's okay.
And when I don't even mean degrees when I'm talking about that. I'm talking about like a couple thousandths. That's what I meant. A couple thousandths at the back. Not even a degree. Anyway, Luther Woodworks.
Yes.
Super duper chat. When building a piece of furniture, do you take into account the room that it's going in when it comes to wood species to match the colors in the room?
Not in our house.
No. I am fortunate that I have understanding family members who don't care if anything matches.
I am more of a function.
Yeah, she wants something to serve a purpose.
Versus
less concerned about what it looks like.
What it looks like.
Yeah. So I would say most of our furniture in the house is cherry and walnut, just because they're domestics that I like to work with, and they're fun woods to work with, and that's what most of the stuff is. But I really very rarely intentionally match anything.
No.
Now, I think, this depends on the client. It depends on what they want. But I do think you should, probably. Most people are going to want to see a little bit of a theme there. But ultimately, wood is beautiful, right?
Yeah.
In all of its many forms and colors. So for me personally, there's no way I could conform to a style or anything in particular, or one species. It just would never work for me. So we got a real hodgepodge going on in there.
That's fine.
But I do think if you're doing this for clients, you probably want to think about that,
Sure.
right? And that's part of your goal when you're talking to a client, is to maybe guide them to the right choice.
I remember when you did that bedroom. Was it a bedroom set? What was that? It was It was fumed, quarter sawn,
Oh, the white oak. Yeah.
mission style.
For Chris and Daniela.
Yeah, yeah. And that was like a whole set.
What are we? Oh yeah. Well, again, that was for someone else.
Yeah.
So, not for me.
Not for me.
Nope.
Jesus had a question at the top of the show that I missed. What is a good air filtration system for paint fumes?
Ooh, I don't know.
A respirator.
A fan pointing out.
Yeah.
That's beyond me. I mean, most filters you're going to find are for particulates. Obviously, if you have a organic cartridge in a respirator, that's going to filter the air for you. There's probably a system out there that uses the right kind of cartridges or the right kind of filter medium that would pull that crap out of the air, but I don't have experience with it. Paint is not something I do a lot with, and every air cleaner I have in the shop is 100% focused on dust, particulates, and not fumes. It's my respirator that protects me from the fumes. So good ventilation is a good start if you can do it, but there's probably industrial systems. I'm sure places with like real spray booths and things like that, they have to deal with that. I don't know, man. I don't have a good answer.
John Sexton wants to know what new projects are planned for this year or next, guild and free projects. Well, the guild, we have the quilt rack that will be coming out eventually.
Yeah.
We have the bar stool chair from Philip Morley. We have what's Jory doing?
We talked about this last
I forget.
time. And I don't remember. It's like a console, like an entertainment center, low console.
Gotcha.
It's pretty awesome.
Gotcha. Yeah.
We got Brian Benham's project.
Yeah, it's a end table, right?
Yeah, did you mention my quilt rack?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, the Bent Lamb quilt rack. That's as far as we know right now. I think for the guild, that's all the visibility we have.
What about Daryl? Is he working on something? Because I thought he was doing video.
No, it's up in the air. He wants to take some time away from me.
Sorry, Daryl.
I'm a jerk. What are you going to do? It's hard on him.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult pace for him to keep for 5 days running gun and just get it done like that.
Well, I thought he was trying to film himself so he could spread it out.
Yeah, he is. He's trying to be able to go at his own pace. Yeah. So,
just got a super chat in for Donald.
Donald Service. Going to inlay a tasteful amount of Wenge. Oh, someone listened to the last show. Where I was not too kind to Wengy, into 1.5-inch white oak slats for a bench. How thick would you recommend the inlay being? Okay, 1.5 inch. Well, you haven't told me how thick the slats are, but if the inlay is just decorative, I would make it as thin as you reasonably can. I would say at least 1/8 of an inch, somewhere between 1/8 and 1/4. But the thinner it is, I think, the easier it is to work with. I mean, to an extent, if you go any thinner than 1/8, then it starts to get flimsy and goofy. But yeah, I would say, 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch deep. You don't need to go deep for an inlay. And I'm guessing if these are slats, they might be thin, maybe 1/2 inch or less, depending. So you don't really have a whole bunch of depth that you have to worry about. So keep them fairly, surface.
Speaking of Donald, he said that he wants to vote for more beginner videos with me.
That is on the list.
It is fun. It was a fun watch, and you two, especially Nicole, had the best time. It seemed. Yeah.
I'm glad it appeared to be that fun.
I had fun.
In retrospect, it was tons of fun.
Honestly, a lot of times when you're telling me what to do, I don't like that.
I know.
But I had fun in the shop.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it so much.
You're a threat to my masculinity. We actually do have another one planned. We just haven't picked the project yet, but we definitely know it's on the list.
Well, now, and hey, it's Teacher Appreciation Week. So if you're in education or if you're a teacher or staff or anything, I hope you had a good week. That's all I've been doing this week has been teacher appreciation stuff. So once the school stuff slows down, I can refocus my brain.
Am I a teacher?
Yeah, you are a teacher. I appreciate you.
Oh, thanks. That's all I wanted. What else you got for me?
Brian wants to know random orbit sander or a hand sander between coats.
Hand.
Yeah.
Unless I'm doing something big conference table or something, like I've got a lot of flat real estate, I generally am not going to take a power sander to anything in between coats of finish. Usually I can get a pretty good coat on that doesn't have a whole bunch of things wrong with it that need to be sanded. So I will go back using a light touch and touch up the rough spots and go to my next coat. Always by hand for me.
Let's see. Karen had submitted a question on Patreon. I saw a video of someone using a 7 1/4 inch blade in a 10-inch table saw. The pros he says are it's cheaper, blades are under $15, saves wear and tear on his expensive blades.
Yeah.
Better quality cut or near as good as the expensive blades.
Uh-huh.
There's more power, better yield on the wood, safer, quieter, and then less dust. Cons, it only has 1.5 inches cut capacity. Have you ever heard of this? What are your thoughts?
If it's safe, it's fine. It's something that I don't. This comes down to a different situation, right? My situation says that I can thankfully afford a really good quality blade. I've got a powerful table saw. I don't have to think about stuff like that. But in some cases, if people are being very frugal, they want to get the best deal and the most out of something, they're going to come up with interesting solutions like that. To me, I think it's way better if you could find the funds to just get a good table saw blade that gives you the capacity. It's not like, especially if you get a thin kerf blade and you have an underpowered saw, that's going to help a lot. You don't need to have a full kerf blade in there. But if that works for someone and they're having good results with it and they don't cut anything higher than 1.5 inches, and that works for them, who am I to criticize as long as it's safe?
Did you get Ben's Woodcrafts question off of YouTube?
Yep, I did.
I'm planning on making a cabinet. Okay.
Yeah, I did. And I think that's one of the things you do have to watch. You got to make sure that the arbor size is the same, the hole in the blade is the same diameter. If it's not meant for that type of application, you might have a fit that isn't quite right. And if that thing has any movement in it, that's definitely problematic.
I want to just say, Ben, you're the only one that asked a question on YouTube this week, so you automatically get the guild project. So you can email me. I think you know my email, Nicole, the Wood Whisperer.
We only had one email, or one question.
So if you are at the $5 level and up, you can ask questions or even make comments on the post that I put up on Wednesday, and I just randomly pick a winner for a free guild project every week.
Yep.
So congrats, Ben.
John wants to know, is there a metric version of this show anywhere? Can we get that, like in a closed captioning, the metric version?
Yeah.
Every measurement I say just comes out in metric.
Yeah, right.
That'd be good.
Translation.
Scott Walsh says that professional blades are cheaper in the long run when accounting for sharpenings. There's a lot of benefits to it, but I think if you're in a position that you have to be frugal, you make certain choices that I have the luxury of not having to make.
Darren Ditch wants to know, I'm building an end table for my living room and I'm trying to figure out what would be the best finish to use on the top for durability. We've had this question many times.
Go ahead. Answer. What's my answer, Nicole? I think you know it.
I think it's the one that's easily repairable.
No.
I don't know.
Well, my first answer is there is no best.
Right.
There is no best finish.
But we have kids, so they're going to mess with it no matter what you do.
Yeah, so this comes down to, do you want a film finish that's protective, that puts a layer on top of it and definitely will provide some protection, but when damaged, tends to look like crap and requires a lot more effort to refinish if and when that time comes? Or are you the type of person who says, well, I know this is going to get damaged, so I want a lighter duty finish that's easy to repair. So when there's a big scratch, I just give it a little bit of just a little buff out, a little sand, and then I reapply some finish, and it's done, right? So you have to decide which side you want to be on, and both of those are perfectly valid ways to go. I have, over the years, I've used a lot of wiping varnish in the past. I think it's a great finish for things like that. Certainly for an end table, I think it'd be great. Armor Seal is one of my favorite products out there. Water locks, things like that. Over the years, I have sort of gravitated toward hard wax oils. Sorry, my mic's being stupid. Hard wax oils have been something I've been using a lot lately, and I'm very much on the other side, right? So if there's damage, I can now repair it very easily just by giving it a little sanding and hitting it with some more finish, right? And I'm letting the wood really do the lion's share of the protection. If you use a good quality hardwood, you've got that built in, right?
If you're using pine, you might.
Well, we have hickory floors, right? And I dropped, a screwdriver. Dropped a screwdriver on the floor. Now the finish on that floor is probably pretty heavy duty stuff, right? But if that floor was made out of alder, like my door is, I don't care what finish is on it, it's probably gonna dent. right? But it was hickory, and hickory is really, really hard. So a lot of times the ultimate, like the durability in a piece of furniture is going to come from the wood itself. And it's actually a lot less important what you do with the finish. The finish is really just there to help you avoid, moisture penetration and, a little bit of mild abrasion, things like that.
Call me Matt. He did a nice super chat and said, here, have a Corona on me.
Ah, nice. Oops, I banned him. That's the ultimate slap in the face when I accidentally hit the ban.
Thank you for the super chat. You're banned.
Thanks for the super chat. Here you go. Get out of here.
I'm having Tang tonight.
Is Call Me Mac in Mexico?
I think so.
I see MX.
Yeah, that's
near the monies.
Yep. Message deleted by the WoodWhisperer. Did you unban him?
I did unban him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me make
Here,
sure.
I'm going to add that to the broadcast just to make sure he gets the highlight he deserves.
Okay.
Guys, I don't know why. I'm going to have to tell the people who make this software. Can you move that ban button?
It's over on this side. Add to broadcast is on the left side.
But when you use a piece of software for years that hasn't had that there at all,
yeah,
you just don't expect it.
And then you got another super chat down here from
you guys are being
Marc.
generous. It must be Woodworking Teacher Appreciation Week. That's, I think, what's going on. Okay, Marc Wida says, on a bandsaw, what's a good size blade to cut curves? And does it depend on the wood species? Not really. I don't think it really depends too much on wood species. I go from one species to another. It usually just comes down more to like physics and geometry. So how tight of a curve can a particular width bandsaw blade take? So the more tight curves you do, the smaller the blade needs to be. So if you're going to do like an Alex Snodgrass reindeer, and you're going to be like zip, 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 you want something that's like 1/8 of an inch, or 1/4 inch at the most. Pretty tiny blade, or 3/16, whatever. So same thing goes, for the curves you're cutting. If you're just doing long curves, maybe curved aprons and things like that, nothing too tight, you're fine with a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch blade. But you got to go wide, For me, I actually like a 1/2 inch blade. Most of the curves that I cut are not really tight curves. So I use my 14-inch bandsaw for that. And on that guy, what do I have over there? Probably like a 3/16 blade, I think, is on that one, if I'm not mistaken. So if I need to like make tighter curves or do scrolly type things, I could do it on that blade. For me, though, a good all-around blade on my main bandsaw is going to be a 1/2 inch.
Let's see. Got a question. Joel wants to know, best tools to start a cutting board business, please. I'm a beginner. Well, here's the thing. There's a lot of YouTube videos that doesn't. Drunken Woodworker. He's not that anymore.
Dave Picciuto.
Dave Picciuto.
Make something.
He actually has a lot of great videos talking about starting up a business. We don't have a woodworking business. We have an education business here.
But he's talking about tools.
Yeah.
He just wants to know, you're making cutting boards, what tools? This may not be the best answer because you're a beginner, you're just starting, but you're also talking about starting a business, right? So be careful with those two things. It can be dangerous to start a business in something you're a beginner at.
Yeah.
Right?
And cutting
you have
boards,
to be careful.
Cutting boards, especially end grain cutting boards, can be finicky.
She ain't lying.
Because we've had people post in, I think it was our Denver group, where they show, like, the customer sent them a picture of the cutting board and it's split in two.
Yeah.
And
what happened?
What happened? And somebody said, they put it in the dishwasher. There's the watermark right there.
Yeah.
So
you gotta be careful with it.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, if I were starting a cutting board business, the tools that I would want a jointer and a planer because I want to be able to mill all these parts myself. I'd want a table saw so I could rip these parts down, or cross cut if I'm doing like an end grain design. I probably would eventually, you may not need it right away, but I would eventually have a drum sander or a wide belt sander because a lot of those end grain designs, oh boy, do they take a long time to sand, right? So, maybe work up to those at some point. Things like a bandsaw, all the other tools in here, maybe not nearly as necessary. Probably want to get a router because you're going to want to put a little edge profile on there, maybe a juice groove around the outside or handles or something like that. But I think you could probably, just with a table saw, make a lot of cutting boards, right? And if you really want to get into this increase your production rate, increase your quality, then you're going to want the milling tools, the jointer and the planer.
There you go. See more super chats?
Well, I got a Darth Platitude question here. Can you tell me what part of the blade is matched to the riving knife? So I want to make sure I got this question right. So riving knife sits behind the blade, right? And it helps prevent the wood from going into the blade. Generally speaking, at least this is what I was always taught, you want the right side, if you're facing your table saw, the right side of the blade to be flush and even and in the same line with the right side of the riving knife. It's not as important what happens on the left side. The goal of the riving knife is to prevent that piece from coming back into the blade. So if it is anywhere this way, if it's to the left of the blade, that's no bueno. That's not going to help you at all. The piece can still come back into the back teeth, and then you're in trouble. So it's got to be at least flush with that outer surface of the teeth. And if it goes any further this way, then it's going to start to act a little bit like a featherboard, right? It's going to kind of pressure you into your fence, which is not necessarily what you want. So I try to make mine flush to the right side of the blade. Hopefully that was what you were asking.
Scott Roy, do you have any videos on Shou Sugi Ban? Is that how you say it?
Shou Sugi Ban? Sushi Ban. I do not. Never did it.
Looking to make an outside bench.
I saw, you guys know Tamar from 3x3 Custom? She just did a Shou Sugi Ban thing, burning wood thing. She actually had a great post explaining the terminology and how
cool.
Shou Sugi Ban is actually nonsense. It doesn't actually mean anything.
Really?
It was like a translation error or something that happened. But that there's actually another name for it, the proper name. So I don't know if she did a video on that, but her content's great.
I'm going to link to her channel, give her some love. 3x3 Custom is her channel. We're going to put it in the show notes if you miss it. Go check out Tamar.
I got the best story.
Look at, she did a cool guitar.
Yeah, she does all kinds of cool stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have the best story about her. We were at Workbench Con, right? So we're just walking around, and I saw her, and she was like, hey. I was like, hey.
And that was it?
Yeah, that's pretty much how it went. What else? I did actually meet her at Workbench Con. But it was mostly like that.
Yeah.
I'm not that talkative in
No,
person.
he's not. If I'm not nearby, it's hard.
Yeah, I had to hide behind Matt. I'm like, hey. He loved it.
Richard T says he's building a shaker workbench. How far apart are the dog holes on your workbench?
I don't know.
Are these dog holes right here?
No, these are hold-fast holes.
Oh, those are hold-fast.
Aren't they 4 inches, 4.5 inches? I don't know the exact number.
It looks 3 inches.
All my measuring tools are elsewhere. Hold on. Hang on. Coming at you.
See, this is where a tattoo of a measuring.
Yeah, until I get flabby.
Yeah.
Okay, so on center, we're looking at 5 inches.
Oh.
Yep,
Wait a
5
minute.
inch on center.
Is that 5 inches?
No.
That's almost 3. That's a little over 3.
You gotta think like a person who does woodworking.
Yeah, I'm not that.
5 inch on center.
Okay.
Is what you meant to say. Okay. What else?
There was a super chat that you missed. You gotta go up. Keep going up. While you're looking for the super chat, I'll read you Michael C's question.
Hey, Branson, Missouri.
Yay, Branson.
Rodney Widger says.
There's up there.
Hello. Okay. George Did you see that? I didn't even touch it and it banned him.
George.
Ironically, the guy who gives us $5 to say, please don't ban me.
It's like they want
I ban the guy.
You want to, it's like, ban me.
I should screen cap this and show you how close it is and how easy it is to accidentally hit that ban button. I really got to tell them to move that thing.
That's pretty funny.
Okay.
So Michael says, I just bought a Grizzly 45Z drum sander.
Okay, good.
What is the best way to use the variable speed on the feeder
Sure.
as to the size of the place?
Of the piece.
Of the piece that you're sanding. I need glasses.
Well, generally speaking, with a drum sander, I would say if the dial goes from here to here, right? From 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock, ignore the second half of the settings. All right, generally speaking, you want things to go fairly slow through a drum sander and you want to take very, very light passes. If you go through too fast, you tend to have problems. You could have burning. I almost never go beyond the halfway point for my speeds. The halfway point is what I consider the top speed. And I guess it certainly is going to depend on the width of the board. If you're bogging down the drum because you're taking a deeper cut and you're doing something 24 inches wide, yeah, you got to be careful with that. But I think the speed is actually something I don't vary quite as much as the drum height, right? If I take a very, very light pass, I just stay on the same speed the whole time and take very light passes as I go through. So that's just the way I use the tool. Other people may have different methodologies that make sense. But for me, it's mostly the height that I'm thinking in terms of how much am I taking off? Am I taking too big of a bite on too wide of a board and it's going to bog down the drum? Not so much the speed.
Tommaso said, new Patreon donation level at $5, you get banned on the live show. Robert Fisher did a super chat. And he said,
thanks, Robert.
Well, $9.99, get me a sticker. It's hard for me. So here's the thing. Yes,
if you went to the store, you could have spent less than $9.99 and gotten a sticker.
99 cents on the store.
Yeah.
But I'll send you a sticker. You need to email me. It's a matter of organization at this point. So if you email me, Nicole@thewoodwhisperer.com, I'll send you a sticker, Robert.
This came up. Where did this come up? Someone mentioned this. Whose post was it? Tim is asking, who would survive the zombie apocalypse, Marc, Matt, or Shannon? Here's the thing. I know everybody's saying that Shannon does all the biking.
Oh, it's because Rockler. It came up in the guild group because Rockler has.
Oh, the 3 pictures. Okay.
Shannon's holding an axe. I think Matt's holding a chainsaw.
Yeah.
And you're holding.
I'm holding a camera.
Video camera.
Well, here's the thing. When you get that done and they go, we need some pictures, it's like, what do we have? Okay, this is what I have. That's what Matt had. I don't think Shannon would. The thing is, speed is only part of the game when we're talking about zombies. It's actually, brawn is only going to get you so far. Speed is only going to get you so far. You know what saves you in a zombie apocalypse? This.
You're like the spindly little kid in Last Kid on Earth.
Yeah. You got to be smart. You got to have the smarts. All right? Yeah, you need to run fast. I could run okay.
Yeah, you run okay.
I could run okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my money would be on Matt, at least initially, because he's got some power over there. Like, he could mow zombies down with some of the crap he's got.
This is true.
On his
until he runs out of gasoline.
Yeah, the Cremona plantation up there. Yeah, so I would say I would still probably be the one to go first. I'd be like, they love me. Okay, what else we got?
Richard T, thank you for joining the YouTube members. You getting access to the bonus show after this, which we're getting ready to go do.
Yep.
So if you are on Patreon, I'll put the link in the chat for you to easily click to get to the video. If you are a YouTube member, just head on over to the main channel page, and under the community tab, there will be a post for the after show. And we'll just hang out. We could talk woodworking, or we could talk about movies, TV shows, comics, video games. Whatever. Kids.
Raising kids.
Come over and bitch about your kids. It's
Whoa,
okay.
You just cursed, Nicole.
B.
How dare you? Okay, so we're done?
Sure.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Apologies to those who I banned. What are you going to do? And we hope you have a wonderful weekend. And again, look out for that video tomorrow, or go to the guild site right now and secure your place, just in case the website goes down or something.
And hey, we'll be back next Thursday. We're here every Thursday night at 6:30 Mountain Time.
Yes.
8:30 Eastern.
What's up, Josh? QOS to you
hey,
all.
Josh,
we haven't QOS'd in forever.
There's been a few familiar faces I haven't seen in a while in the chat room.
Everybody's busy. Okay, well, have a great weekend, everybody, and we will see you next time. Bye.